Am I the asshole for laughing in my mother's friend's face when she told me to go to my room? 25. Don't speak to my mother, like at all. I had to go to my mother's house today to pick up an important document that I left behind when I moved out 7 years ago. As soon as I got to the house, my mother suddenly had a massive emergency and realized that it was apparently her friend's funeral today and she completely forgot about it. I couldn't help but internally roll my eyes, as there is always some drama, hence why I have gone very low contact. She asked me if I would watch my 2 younger brothers, 7 and 11, whilst she went to the funeral, and I said absolutely not, as it's my only day off, I have plans, and I have no relationship with them due to my mother stopping them from seeing me for years. I just wanted to get my birth certificate and leave. My mother asked her friend if she would babysit and asked me to stay for 10 minutes until her friend came. I didn't even get the opportunity to say no before my mother left the house. I was seething but resolved to wait 10 minutes. My mother's friend turned up and started berating me for not agreeing to look after my brothers whilst my mother went to the funeral. I said, I don't have anything to do with my mother, it's my day off work, and I'm under no obligation to look after anyone else's children. My mother's friend then told me to go to my room. I laughed in her face and started to leave the house, and she asked me where I was going. And I told her, my room, at my apartment, that I pay for with my big girl job. Because I'm an adult, not a child. And don't ever speak down to me like that again. And I left. My mother has left me loads of messages and missed calls saying I'm an asshole for the way I spoke to her friend. I do admit I look kinda young, but I still am not happy with the way my mother's friend spoke to me. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. I actually quite admire your refusal to get drawn in. Not the asshole, the audacity to try and send someone else's adult child to their room. I would have laughed too. I may be the asshole because my mother's friend didn't know me and may have genuinely thought I was a minor, as I do look very young for my age. It really wouldn't matter. You're not the asshole now, and you'd have been not the asshole if you had been a minor. She had no business speaking to you that way regardless. The fact that adults can quite often get away with behaving badly towards children because children don't usually have the ability to do what you did here doesn't mean that their behavior is good, it just means they can get away with it. She behaved like an ass, and you spanked her. Am I the asshole for locking the door to my home so my husband's friend couldn't come in? Update at bottom of post. My husband's friend has been living with us for about 6 months now. When my husband presented the idea to me about him moving in, I was hesitant, but he was determined to get him out of the streets. Fast forward to preset day. His friend got a part-time job at FedEx and quit a couple of weeks ago because he didn't like how his supervisor was talking to him. He does not contribute anything to our home, doesn't help cook, clean, or watch our children. Our oldest girl keeps an eye out on our toddler more than he does. He'll go in our office and spark up some weed no matter how many times I tell him and my husband that he needs to do that outdoors. Yesterday I hit my breaking point. I wasn't feeling well as I had a migraine. 3 of our kids had dentist appointments. I don't know about you guys, but getting kids out the door can be challenging regardless, let alone when you're feeling sick from your head pounding nonstop. I go outside with our kids to see that my car was gone. He took my car to go smoke with his county worker. My husband was at work. Furious wasn't the word to describe it. I immediately went back inside and tried to call him. No answer. I then called my husband, where he sighed, like he was so annoyed with me, and said he would call him. I tried explaining to my husband that I'm at my wit's end. We have 6 kids and I get no help from him or his friend. He sleeps on our couch and doesn't even fold his blanket up in the morning. My husband proceeds to tell me that I'm overreacting and that I need to calm down. I ended up locking my front door and refused to open it until my husband got home. However, when he got home, he didn't try to come inside. He took a picture of our door, went on Instagram, and told the world, "Have you ever been locked out of your own home?" I lost it. I feel like I've been more than patient and I can't do it anymore. I don't get help or basic respect in my own home and I'm constantly gaslit. My husband has a history of getting extremely angry and scary, so I told him he needed to wait until our children were asleep in bed before coming in, as I was afraid he'd come in irate, lashing out in front of them like before. Am I the asshole for how I handled this? Update: so I contacted the base nearest me and was granted a MPO. Military Protection Order, for those who aren't familiar. It took a couple of tries to get a hold of someone, but when I did, I fucking sobbed while trying to summarize everything that's been happening to me. She said he will not be allowed to come home or contact me until the investigation is complete. She was extremely nice and sympathetic with my situation, so that gives me slight hope. This is the second biggest step I've ever taken in regards to getting my kids out of here and ending my marriage. The first was locking the door yesterday. I don't know where his friend is, but I put his shit out my house late last night and told him to come get it. It was gone when I woke up this morning. I can't describe how terrified I am at the unknown. I'm going to change the locks to the doors within the next 24 hours. I'm also going to sit my kids down tonight and explain why I did what I did and come up with a game plan. I can't begin to describe how thankful I am for every single piece of advice, well wishes, links to resources, even the tough love I received from everyone today. All of it is appreciated, honestly. It's extremely scary not knowing what tomorrow will bring, but it's amazing to know that I have a bunch of internet strangers rooting for me. My husband has a history of getting extremely angry and scary. Hun, you are in an abusive relationship. You need to get help and to get out of this situation. Call a divorce lawyer. That's the most important thing right now. Not the asshole, but I am seriously concerned about your safety. So many location flag location flag location flag. Not the asshole, but for your sake and safety. I hope there's a safe place you can turn to, since your home is clearly not that anymore. Not the asshole, but Jesus Christ, your situation is fucked up. This is way above the Reddit pay grade. Is there anyone you can talk to, like family, someone that your husband holds in high regard that could listen to your side and support you in the conversation with your husband? I mean, in a normal situation it should be the husband, but he clearly could not give a fuck about your opinion. I'm sorry. Am I the asshole for not letting my cousin get married in the family summer house for free? Okay, so I am looking for outside opinions here. I can preface with the idea that I don't think I am an asshole here. My partner, however, thinks it's a difficult situation and thought this would be a good idea, since she lurks here all the time and a lot of the responses are good. Also not native English speaker. So I am 28-year-old woman, I am gay, important to the story. Now my mother is a single mother, she comes from a big conservative Christian family. My mom was easily the black sheep, she had me at 16, which in itself was a big issue for my grandfather. We lived with my grandparents until my mother at age 25 came out as gay. That was the limit for my grandfather, and he disowned my mother, and my mom cut all contact with her family. Now my grandparents were rich, not extreme, but they had a lot of money. Especially a big, summer house. I say that, but it is a really big house with beautiful scenery, next to a beautiful lake. It was laid down by my grandfather's father and has since been improved upon and renovated. It has been somewhat of a family retreat where all my uncles, aunts and cousins visit regularly during the summer. I visited twice when I was younger and I loved it. Sadly, when COVID hit, my grandfather and my mother sadly passed away. Now this made my grandmother reach out to me, and I liked that. She wanted to make it up as much as she could. Sadly, last year she passed away as well. She left token sums to all her children and grandchildren, but in compensation she also left me the summer house. I made it into an Airbnb, and I've been making a lot of cash from it. Obviously this made the rest of my family furious because they could no longer visit during the summer, prime season. But again, I don't know them or my cousins. Here is where I might be the asshole. My aunt reached out to me the other week telling me, not asking, that her daughter had planned to have her wedding there next summer. She has been dreaming of it since she was a child, and apparently it's the designated family wedding spot. The house has been hired out for weddings before, since there is room for a venue and lots of rooms for guests to stay over. Now I told my aunt that was not possible because the week she wanted to have her wedding was already booked. But I said if she wanted a different date she could put down the deposit for what I charge for a wedding and book a different date. Now she was furious and asked if I was serious in actually charging my family to have their wedding there, and I just said I didn't know them. Have not met them in person since I was like 6, and yes I would because weddings bring in a lot of money. Her family has been blowing up my phone and social media calling me an asshole. So am I the asshole? Not the asshole. It's yours. I'm guessing the aunt could have reached out at any time before your mum passed, yet didn't. You don't owe them anything. Not the asshole. You absolutely have to have them put down a deposit. If something gets broken or damaged, they will accuse you of not being understanding of family. In the interest of compromise, if you want to let them use the house, tell them a few dates that the house is free, and charge them half so you don't feel screwed and they don't feel like they're like everybody else. And AL significant other to set an important precedent that for any future family events, there are no more freebies, but it is also completely okay to bill them 100% like you would anybody else. The house was a gift to you, it is no longer theirs to commandeer at their pleasure. Am I the asshole for telling my cousin I don't care she has 3 years left to live? I know the title sounds awful, but hear me out. I have a second cousin called Jane. She is very close with my parents. We aren't close because she's always been kinda mean to me, but as we live in the same city and my parents often work long hours, she often accompanied me to extracurricular activities by taking the bus with me downtown as she was the only one available. I got her a nice Christmas gift this year with allowance I saved up, so I don't think I've been ungrateful for what she's done for me. I'd also like to note I'm not that young, 16F. It's just my parents are weird about public transport because I'm very small and a girl, and my mom was often harassed on the bus when she was young. Jane was unfortunately diagnosed with cancer recently, and was given an estimate of 3 years left. Ever since she received the news, she's often done things like cutting in long lines, and asking for discounts normally only available to service workers with the phrase, "I've only got 3 more years, we gotta make 'em good." Recently, my parents asked Jane to escort me on a flight to visit my family who lived in another state for 2 weeks. I'd never flown alone before, so the deal was that Jane would fly with me there and show me how things worked, return home without me, and then I would fly home alone after I knew how. My parents covered everything plus some nice skincare for Jane as a thank you. On the flight, she stretched out her knees and legs onto the seat in front of us. When the person understandably turned around to complain, she used the stupid excuse about the 3 years to live thing again. The person said they were sorry about that but to please put her legs in her own space. She kicked her legs around a bit and then put them so her knees were resting on the back of the seat in front of us. I told her she was acting childish and she said that she deserved to be comfortable in her last years of life. I then told her that me and others around her don't care about her living life to the fullest at the expense of others. She was really quiet for the rest of flight and I feel horrible. I know I could have phrased it nicer, but I was sick of her being a jerk to random people. So, am I the asshole and how much? And #X200B. Edit. Just so you guys know, Jane really likes flying, so she was very excited to be the escort. She was also visiting a friend in the city. She also takes me on public transport about 1–2 times a month. Sorry if this is unnecessary, just trying to answer some questions. Not the asshole. I am terminal, with about a year, but I don't act entitled to anything. When I am feeling down, my emotions run high. I spend time by myself, so as to not offend anyone else. I am thankful for every single moment and am living life to the fullest, but not at the expense of others. Not the asshole. Like you said, you could have phrased it nicer, but she needed a wake-up call that, "I'm dying," is never an excuse to treat others poorly. Not the asshole. It sucks that your cousin has only 3 years to live. However, that does not give them the right to treat everyone like shit. You are right to call them out. Not the asshole. She is the awe. Who is to say any of us will be alive in 3 years? If it was 1–3 months, maybe excuse her, but that is years away and who knows, she might live.